The following program was made for viewers like you. Not those other mooks. They're a bunch of commie-loving, pimple-headed, Birkenstock-wearing zaraza. But not you. You're beautiful. And special. So hit the like and subscribe buttons in ways that display your greatness and well-cultured tastes. The following program is about to begin. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the final program. I'm your host, Joe Neiman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. Before we go any further, let's make sure that our audio is good. Let's make sure y'all hearing me. Evening, Joe. Good evening. I'm here. Good evening. Yeah, anarchy in the UK. Yep, that's definitely true. Anarchy. We're definitely going to cover the anarchy. Anarchy! We're definitely covering that. Don't give me no stupid F. There's no F's. There's no F's. No one's complaining. All right. If you like me, whenever you hear about politics going on in the UK, your eyes roll over and you say, I don't care. I don't care. Why should I? This is our forefathers fought a war to win us the privilege of saying, I don't care. Nothing at all. Talk to me about your British royals, blah, 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 in one ear, out the other. I don't care. And I'm sure I'm not alone. As it is, I mean, most people don't, are not that into UK politics, not that into EU at all. Most people are not into politics. I'm into politics, and I'm just like, no. I don't want to hear about your stupid parliamentary systems. I don't want to hear about your Labour parties and your other stupid parties. I don't care. I don't care. I'm an American. It's my right to say I don't care. Who's prime minister? I don't care. So when all the crazy stuff, the madness was going on, the madness was freaking out around the UK, my attitude was, I don't care. I don't. Things go well for them? Great. Things don't go well? Great. I don't care. That was pretty much my perspective on anything UK. Why should I care? Why? You stupid little wigs and your little out of order stuff. I don't care. Prime ministers, presidents, your prime minister. I get it. You got your monarchy there, which doesn't mean anything. You think that's all high and mighty and anyone cares? No, we don't care. Is Meghan Markle going to be like, part of the royal? I don't care. But now it's actually starting to spill across the pond. Now, apparently, there's talks about limitations or potential limitations on freedom of speech here, where if you say certain things here, purportedly, Great Britain or UK or Wales, whatever the hell they call them stupid selves, because no one knows, no one gets it. We don't understand what the difference between the United Kingdom and Great Britain and all your other stupid, we don't care. But all of a sudden, some Brits across the pond are telling Americans, you can't post certain stuff online, otherwise we're going to try and get you extradited so that you can basically come here and come to prison for exercising your American First Amendment rights. Now, this is something that all of a sudden I say, okay, now I care. Because if you think that after losing the war pretty handily, courtesy of General George Washington, a war you might have forgotten about, probably erasing your history books, I don't care what you did with it, but if you seem to have forgotten about that, and you think that your British monarchy rules dictate how Americans are supposed to conduct themselves, otherwise now you're going to try and twist the arm of my government into sending me across the pond, probably in some wooden frigate, I don't know, some wooden, like with the heavy shackles behind me. You're gonna throw a puffy shirt on me like I'm some pirate, and then yeah, hail me before some British tribunal. So I'm going to stand there pleading in front of some dude wearing some freaking wig. Now I care. Now I care. Now I'm like, okay, all right, you piqued my interest. On this one, you piqued my interest. I'm curious. Now I'm very curious. I need to know. I know Worcestershire's here. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Worcestershire. I don't do the whole puffy shirts. I'm not. If you want to say, "Oh my gosh, can you believe he wrote that on X?" Get him in shackles. In that case, I say I can't. Now I can. Now you got my interest. But the problem is that I'm walking in on this story like, midstream, because like I've been saying all along, as this fire has been like blowing up all over the UK. So I just sort of zoned out, and I'm basically like, oh wow, I wonder. let me fixate on exactly what rank Tim Walz has, because this is much more important to me than like there being like mass riots all over the UK, because the UK, I don't care. And some guy claiming about some rank, whether he is a sergeant major or a command sergeant, that's a much more important thing to me, because I'm an American. And that's just the way it is. But now I got to catch up, because your story's been going on there for a little bit of a while now, where there's been rioting and craziness. And I know there's been rioting. Lady Lawgic, she comes and talks to me all the time. And she's like, what about this story? Maybe you should cover this. Maybe you should cover, like, she'll just like sort of drop stories at me, telling me that, like, recommending to try and help me out. And like, something in case I'm unaware, that I should bring it to my audience. I potentially should bring it to my audience's attention. It's a very helpful little thing in case, sometimes something just goes right past me. So this way she tries and calls it to my attention. I mentioned to her just before I came on air right here, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be talking about the UK riots. She's like, UK, what? What's that? I was like, there's rioting going on in the UK. She's like, there is. I said, love her. Why? Because she's an American. And she's like, I don't care. So there you go. But now what I realize is, okay, so now if I'm going to be wading into this story so I can actually properly, cover it properly and explain everything to you all, there's a fairly significant chance that at least a handful of you, if not a majority of you, know very, very little about this whole story and how the whole thing just started brewing some short while ago. I think last week or the week before. I don't even know when the hell it started. But and I'm reading about, like, why the riot started here, and the three little girls, and how this whole thing. But when I'm reading this, what I realized is there's the news I'm getting has very clearly, I just see all the little handiwork there of filtration. I'm like, this story, I feel as if it's being framed a certain way, that I'm supposed to feel a certain way about who's responsible. Now, I don't know if this filtration, which sounds very left-oriented, very anti-right-wing UK personalities, I don't know if that's just standard operating procedure in London, or the UK, or there's some difference between them, Great Britain and England. God knows. I don't know if that's just like standard operating procedure there, because let's face it, everyone in the EU is 10 minutes from getting trans surgery. But it could be that that's the way things always are. It could be that those are the ones that just get spoon-fed into me because Google said, obviously, this is the information you want. This is the source you want. Or it could be that the UK has successfully been just sort of like, take this one down, take that one down, go after Satvan over there who's saying that there's something Muslims who did no, go after them. Could be. I don't know what it is. So I'm going to give you some background. I'm going to present to you a source, which I will tell you when I'm reading it, it feels pretty left-leaning. Feels pretty left-leaning. That doesn't mean that there's no fact in here. I'm just telling you, it feels pretty left-leaning. So, but we're going to go through it. So this way we have a little bit of background, understanding about what's happening in what language they even speak in Britain. Does anyone know what language they're speaking? Is it Canadian? What do they speak over there? Well, whatever it is, this one was translated into English, and I'll read it to you. We're going to go through it. So at least this way we have some sort of perspective and background so we understand why all this stuff is happening here. And then we're going to see how it's spiraled out of control where they're saying, let's throw Elon in jail because he's got X and he's a terrible person. So that's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to try to break down for you. And really what I'm going to do is I'm going to be borrowing from I'm probably not going to be borrowing. I'm probably just going to flat out be stealing from the black belt barrister, who's a friend. Not a friend I've ever had online here, not someone I've ever spoken to, but I'm in enough chats with him. I like him and respect him. And he did a breakdown on this, which I think is important. And I'm gonna do a quick see, not that I've really looked through it yet. I'm gonna do a quick see about his perspective as to the UK's possibilities of successfully extraditing Americans for violating British law. So before we get there, though, we got to understand a little bit more about what's going on. So my source here is the BBC, which I got a feeling they're always left-leaning. That's my gut says that. My gut says that. Let me get this first. Anarchy equals chaos. Thank you. Thank you. It doesn't really mean chaos. It just means no monarch, no leader. It doesn't necessarily really mean chaos. It's synonymous, but not really definitively chaos. My mother is Canadian British, family from South England. I care. All right, well, it's okay. I'm not going to tell on you. Strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. What? I don't know what this means. I told you we have no free speech over there. Yeah, I'm sensing that. Master Phillips, I have an extremely English name. Come get me, redcoats. You tell him. You tell him. You tell him. All right, let's start understanding a little bit what's happening here. Because I just put in, why are there riots in the UK? And as it happens, that was actually the title of this article from the BBC. I was like, tell me what's happening. What's going on? Why are people rioting? That's what we need to know. Why are there riots in the UK? This was 5 days ago. All right. So this is the BBC's perspective. From what I understand, and Worcestershire, correct me if I'm mistaken, the BBC is fairly left-leaning. And there's a lot of anti-right rhetoric in here. All right. Let's just get this out of the way. Hello! Hello! Thank you, Jenny. It's good to see you. All right. The fatal stabbing of 3 young girls at a dance class in the seaside town of Southport in the north of England has been followed by the worst unrest the UK has seen in more than a decade. So 3 young girls were at a dance class, and they were snuffed out. The violence in towns and cities across England and in Northern Ireland has been fueled by misinformation online, the far right and anti-immigration sentiment. Okay, maybe. I got a feeling I've seen some videos. There's been some pushback. Let's put it this way. I don't know who started it. I expected the BBC to tell me that it was far right activists who started it, but I've seen there's some licks coming in from the other side too. Communities have responded with a series of rallies against the riots, with thousands gathering on Wednesday, the 7th of August. Why did the killing of children in Southport lead to violence? On July 29th, BB King, age 6, Elsie Dot Stancombe, age 7, and Alice De Silva Aguiar, 9, were killed in a knife attack at a Taylor Swift-themed dance and yoga event. This should just be reminded to the world that Taylor Swift should basically be illegal across the globe. 8 more children and 2 adults were injured. See, how does this happen? One person did this to all of them? I don't understand what that means. 8 more children and 2 adults were injured? One guy did all this? One guy did all of that? Killed 3, injured 10 more? Really? Really? I think you guys need better, you need more permissive gun laws. Later that day, police say they arrested a 17-year-old from a village nearby and that they were treating the incident as terror-related. Okay. Almost immediately after the attack, social media posts falsely speculated that the suspect was an asylum seeker who arrived in the UK on a boat in 2023 with an incorrect name being widely circulated. There were also unfounded rumors that he was Muslim. Okay. In fact, as the BBC and other responsible media outlets reported, the suspect was born in Wales to Rwandan parents. Okay. Police urge the public not to spread unconfirmed speculation and false information. I'm going to go on record as saying right now, I have no idea who did it. I don't know who did it. The following evening, more than 1,000 people attended a vigil for the victims in Southport. Later on, violence broke out near a local mosque. People threw bricks, bottles, and other missiles at the mosque and police. A police van was set alight, and 27 officers were taken to the hospital. You see, when they're saying it like this, violence broke out, this leads me to believe the BBC doesn't want you to tell you that it was potentially, and I don't know this to be the case, but this is how they would word it if it was initiated by the Muslims. Because if the reason, and this is what you get BBC, and I don't know that's what happened. This is what's so frustrating about trying to read from a left-leaning, like a ridiculously left-leaning source. When they say violence broke out, rather than saying a mosque was attacked, that to me says the violence was almost certainly initiated by the Muslims. Now, maybe they felt threatened. Maybe they were just cause behind it. Maybe they weren't the ones who initiated it. I don't know. I'm simply telling you when I'm reading this paragraph, because I've learned how to read between the lines from when you're getting twisted news sources like left-leaning BBC. So when they say violence broke out near a mosque, that's telling me probably initiated by members of the mosque. And again, I'm not saying they're in the wrong. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. The disorder was widely condemned. Local MP Patrick Hurley said thugs had traveled to the town to use the deaths of 3 children for their own political purposes. Well, that's exactly the sort of thing they're going to say. While Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer denounced the marauding mobs on the streets of Southport. Now, I actually saw some video of this, which basically showed that which basically showed some Muslims who were just harassing the heck out of folks. I don't know what preceded it. I'm just telling you. I've seen some of those videos. All right, so how did the violence spread? There had been discussion of the rally on regional anti-immigration channels on the Telegram messaging app. Police said the violence is believed to have involved supporters of the now disbanded far-right group of the English Defence League. But they're always going to say that, right? I mean, that's what they're going to say. I mean, Keir Starmer is Labour. They're very strong. He's very left-leaning government. Yeah, that's what they're... Somehow, whenever lefties come into power, there's crazy violence. That's what I've noticed. There's crazy violence when lefties come into power. The day after the Southport riot, violent protests in London, Hartlepool, and Manchester broke out, which police linked to Southport. More took place throughout the week, with many targeting mosques and hotels housing asylum seekers. So now basically we have a race war going on across the UK. While there's no single organizing force at work, BBC analysis of activity on mainstream social media and in smaller public groups shows a clear pattern of influencers driving a message for people to gather for protests. Yeah, from which side? From which side? Because I got a feeling it's both sides. At this point, I got a feeling it's both sides. You basically have your basic race war brewing. And please don't see when they try selling it as if it's like, oh, it's the whites who are going after the poor besotted Muslims. I'm just like, just stop it. Just stop it. And that doesn't mean, I mean, like, again, I don't know. For all I know that, you know, it is that way. I've seen some of the videos. All right. Multiple influencers with different circles amplify false claims about the identity of the attacker, reaching a large audience, including ordinary people without any connection to far-right individuals and groups. Oh, interesting. So now it's like now the normies are in here. Before, it was just the right-wing agitators, but now normies have been swept up into it. On X, EDL founder, far-right activist, and convicted criminal Tommy Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, posted inflammatory messages to his nearly 1 million followers while on holiday in Cyprus. When I have seen some of Tommy Robinson's rhetoric, he does seem a bit extreme. An influencer on X associated with Yaxley Lennon, who posts under Lord Simon, was among the first to publicly call for nationwide protests. Where have riots taken place and what has happened? After the Southport attack, riots broke out across England, from Plymouth on the south coast to Sunderland in the northeast. There have been riots in Belfast. Northern Ireland. Crowds attacked mosques and accommodation housing asylum seekers. Cars and buildings, including a library, were set on fire and shops looted. Violence in South Belfast. You see, when they don't report on any violence committed by any Muslims in this is where you're saying you're so full of crap. You're so full of crap. And I'm not saying that they haven't been victimized, but don't tell me that there's been no kickback, because that's an outright lie. I know very, very little what's happening. Even that much I've seen. Violence in South Belfast, where anti-immigration, anti-racism protesters faced off. Anti-racism protesters. They're anti-racism protesters. Of course, that's what they are. See, listen, look at the wording here. So you're anti-immigration, i.e. racist, and the people who are attacking back are anti-racists. Faced off intense scenes outside the city hall involved racist elements, the judges said. Police are investigating an assault on a man whose head was reportedly stamped on as a racially motivated hate crime. In Rotherham on Sunday, terrified staff at the Holiday Inn, which was housing asylum seekers, described how they stacked fridges and other furniture against a door to barricade themselves against a mob which had smashed its way into the building. Nearby residents described fleeing their homes as rioters entered the gardens. So it started in Southport, and then it went to Hartlepool and Manchester and London and all the... Look at this. Look at this mess. Crowd attack and police and damage. And that was starting in Southport, and then August 2nd, cars and buildings set on fire in Sunderland, while Liverpool sees scuffle outside the mosques. This is why they do this. Oh, this is going this way. Okay. Then it's in Blackpool and Liverpool, Hull. They give you a nice. You learn all the geography, more geography than you ever wanted to know about Great Britain. And these are all the different areas where there's different attacks going on. As of Thursday, August 8th, the chair of the Police Federation, Tiffany Lynch, estimated more than 100 police officers have been injured in the disorders, some receiving hospital treatment. Okay, so now you understand at least how these things got started. We'll understand a little bit about how this got started. Okay. What has happened since then? Well, a few things. The police started making arrests for people who had posted online and, quote-unquote, incited violence. Now, the yardstick and definitions of inciting violence in Great Britain is not quite the Brandenburg standard that you and I may be accustomed to here in the United States. You were sent a tweet out there which gave misinformation, and suddenly Apparently, that's labeled inciting violence. It's like, wait, I didn't tell anyone to harm anyone. Nope, you incited violence. This is one tweet on X, which is saying that at this point, 22 arrests were made by the Manchester police. Check out this video. I saw this video the other day, and I was like, this is craziness. What the heck is happening? Imagine you send a tweet and this is the reaction. Now you understand why we fought a war to get away from these people. I think you're starting to understand it a little bit better. This is why we fought a war, to get away from folks like this. Because this is how they're keeping communities safe. Unbelievable. Here's another one.
Okay, so
what do you mean I can't have any alcohol?
Okay, well I'll tell you. Okay, the time's 20 to 3, 14:40. I'm arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the electronic communications network. I'm just
what?
127.
Improper use of the electronic communications network. What?
Communications Act. Okay, so you do not have to say that may harm your defence if you don't mention one question, something which later are in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence.
So you don't have to answer. This is the way it works there. But we can draw negative inferences if you don't want to answer questions. How is that not having to answer? How is that not having to answer? It's such a backward system UK has.
You understand that?
So I'm actually being arrested.
You're going to be arrested, okay?
Right.
So you got to the police station.
Right.
You, okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay.
Comments you made on a Facebook page.
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
This is what they want to do to you. You in America. They want to do this to you.
You got anything in your pockets?
I've got my keys. I got, no, that's about it, I think, keys.
So, anyone who's been arrested, we can search them under Section 32 and Decent Evidence Act.
There you go.
Dangerous items.
Getting out the rubber gloves. You got to wonder, where's this guy being searched? He might be. We got to frisk him. We got to search him. Get out the rubber gloves. Bend over. Here he comes.
I mean, you said I was going to be arrested under some what information?
So
I'm going to be arrested for posting on Facebook.
Some comments that are offensive, obscene, and people have made a complaint about.
Offensive. Not even inciting. You've been offensive on Facebook, and this is why you're being arrested. Do you understand how precious America is yet? Are you starting to get the picture? Because this is the very liberal. This is not in Iran. They're not in Iraq. They're not in the Middle East. This is not the People's Republic of China. This is not Russia. This is liberal West sensibilities about civil liberties. Is we're going to get out the rubber gloves and arrest you and search you because of your Facebook crime. That you were mean on Facebook. You were obscene and rude and offensive. Someone reported you. Someone said there were mean tweets. He sent mean tweets, and they call the popo, and the popo come in here. Granted, they're, it's British police. They probably aren't armed or anything like that. But still, if you're sitting in your home there and police come in, what are you supposed to do? This is what they want to do to you. To you. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Armed with their rubber gloves. Yeah, exactly. For wrongthink. Nobody likes the English, not the North English, not the South English, nor the Scottish. Well, none of us know the difference. I'm sorry. None of us know. North English, South, they're just the English to us. Check out what Tom Robinson was convicted of. All right, I'm going to take a quick look. Using threatening, abusive, or insulting behavior during a fight between support. Oh, God. Are you starting to appreciate your American privilege? American privilege is a real thing. It's a real thing. Because you're an American, you're privileged that you don't have to worry about this woman showing up with her partner and their blue rubber gloves to come in here and arrest you and search you. They'd probably be very offensive. Not unlike what they're trying to do. Trump's speech January 6th, time to criminalize speech. That's what they're trying to do. Exactly.
That and it's
and can you tell me what this comment was?
Okay, well, we'll do that when we interview.
All right. And so, what am I going to be locked up for the night, or?
Hopefully not.
Right. Do I need to take my medications with me?
Yes, we will look at taking all of those.
When do you need to take them?
Well, I've got pain medications. I've got sleeping medication. I've got anxiety medications, which I might take one of those in a bit. Okay. You know.
Well, if we take everything with us, then you've got everything there, haven't you?
And then we've got a nurse up there. They'll be able to. They'll be able to come and see you, and then once you've been there, they can assess whether or not medication can be issued.
Unbelievable.
So what we're going to do is, if you want to pop yourself up, we're just going to search.
You need the glasses.
Yeah, search you.
To come with you.
My glasses.
Yeah. Do you want to take them with you?
Unbelievable. So there you go. Now, I wasn't exaggerating when I said they weren't coming after you. No, I was not. Where was it? Give me 1 second. Pull this up here.
British authorities are threatening to hold Americans accountable for online activity the British police blame for stoking violent riots happening on their streets. Here's national correspondent Kayla Gaskins.
The worst riots the United Kingdom has seen in years. Fueled by false information.
I don't know if I can show this even because it's YouTube and they're kind of UK-ish.
Is the one responsible for a mass stabbing that left 3 children dead and several more injured at a Taylor Swift-themed event. The suspect, however, is a 17-year-old UK citizen born in Wales to Rwandan parents. The head of police now threatening extradition and jail time to U.S. citizens for online posts allegedly egging on the violence from afar.
If you're a keyboard warrior, you're not safe from the law if you incite violence.
Giving this response when a Sky News reporter asked about the controversial comments made by the riots on X by Elon Musk.
We will throw the full force of the law at people. And whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, we will come after you.
UK authorities have already arrested their own citizens for online activity. For example, if you...
The Labour Party is running out of people to throw in jail in the UK. So now they're searching for people across the globe that they can try and arrest.
A 5-year-old woman was arrested for publishing written material to stir up racial hatred and false communication. 2 other British men also arrested for social media posts. The Prime Minister sending this warning.
I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online.
We spoke with Aaron Turr with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression.
The government absolutely should arrest and prosecute anyone engaged in political violence. But in times of unrest, governments have a tendency to overreach and to undermine
You
civil
think?
liberties like freedom of speech in
You
the name
think?
of public safety.
UK laws surrounding free speech are different than those here in the US. And while it's not impossible, it's highly unlikely British authorities will go after US-based social media posters like Elon Musk for violating British laws in an online space.
So there you go. That's their report on it. You got nice little tidbits there to basically tell you how the UK feels as to what they're hoping they can do. What Herr Starmer wants to engage in. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And we got this. Some dude in a wig. Some poof in a wig.
Went on to say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, rape our kids and get priority, end quote. This offence is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment. Went on to say...
Unbelievable. 20 months for his Facebook post, this dude. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this is madness. This is madness. Madness, I say. Speaking of which, the madness I was just referring to relates to this phenomenal meme. Phenomenal. Arguably, might be the best meme I've ever seen. It might be that I'm going to be sharing later in the show. Like, really funny. I don't know if I can show it on YouTube. That's the only problem. I'm like, I think I can show this on YouTube. I think it's okay. I think I can do this. Hilarious. I was watching it and just dying. It was unbelievable. So, yeah. So the question you all have is, you should be asking yourself is, wait, just a second, Joe. Can they actually arrest me? Can they actually do that? Can they actually be extradited? Because we do have a healthy judicial recognition of each other's laws and crimes across the pond. There are extradition laws, extradition treaties between America and the UK. If you break UK law while exercising your First Amendment rights here, can you actually be extradited and theoretically thrown into some British prison? They're going to throw, like I said, the whole flouncy shirt on you, and you'll be standing. And the next thing you know, you're just going to be standing in front of this dude over here. Is that something, if you're living in Virginia, in Utah, in North Carolina, is this something that is this an actual legitimate concern that you should have? My first takeaway on this is, and this is not legal advice. I am not giving you, this is very, very definitively not legal advice. Not legal advice. But I would say, definitely it can happen. Definitely. No, I'm kidding. One of the exceptions, my gut is almost impossible, but not 100% impossible. Do I think it will happen? I would be shocked. But I wouldn't say it's impossible. I wouldn't call it impossible. There's an exception when it comes to political crimes. So that there's no extradition treaty with respect to political crimes. This almost certainly would qualify as a political crime, but I can't tell you definitively. And seeing as how the powers that be are currently the powers that be, you could be in for a lengthy fight. Not going to kid you. You could be in for a lengthy fight. I don't think it's going to happen to Elon Musk. but they might try to make an example out of someone much, much smaller than an Elon Musk. But what I wanted to do with you is I wanted to review with you the Black Belt Barrister, because he made a video on this, and we're gonna review that right now. Send memes to the UK fund. All right. These people don't have good lawyers. In England, they're all pleading guilty. They should never talk to the police without a lawyer present. That's under America. I know that's how it works in England. Hopefully, Black Belt Barrister will help walk us through it. I'm sure the officers were we were just following orders. How part of Spanish dystopian science fiction novel we're in? It seems like we're past 1984. We're in like 1984 Part 2, 1986. Vera Jourova of some bureaucratic wing in EU language police is the germ that first floated out this language control for the US too. They're desperate. They're so weak that they're like, we have to arrest everybody. We have to. That's a sign of weakness. That's a sign of lack of leadership.
20 months in prison for...
We'll slow that down a little bit.
Facebook post might leave you wondering if your posts are going to annoy anybody and land you in prison. So in this video, I'm going to go over exactly that. Plus, I've also had a US attorney reach out to me regarding my Elon Musk analysis, which I'll go into in great detail because he's been really helpful in providing a detailed breakdown, much more detailed than I did on the US law, obviously because he's a US attorney. So for that and more, stay tuned.
And I'm going to do my part here to tell you, I've gone to the Black Belt Barrister several times with questions I had about British law, not on this issue, but on other issues. He does seem very intelligent and very knowledgeable. He has seemed very intelligent, very knowledgeable every time I've consulted with him. I'm certainly going to put a link to this video and to his channel in the chat description. I'm going to urge you guys to check out his work because, like I said, I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll have what to learn, especially once in a while we come across something like this. Dude does good work. Let's check him out.
Welcome back to the channel. So I'll say again, if you would like a fresh, neutral alternative to the mainstream media with absolute raw, honest truth and analysis, telling you as it is, whether it's pretty or not, subscribe to my channel. I'd be really grateful. We've blown through 500,000 subscribers and continued to grow with some momentum. So I thank you all very much for subscribing. And it's my pleasure to bring to you a fresh, raw, neutral alternative to mainstream media. So let's talk about this. So first of all, let's talk in general about the right to the freedom of expression, which is quite rightly, as some people have pointed out, slightly different, slightly more nuanced than freedom of speech. Speech obviously refers to speech itself, and the freedom of speech is the freedom to say anything you wish. We have protected freedom of expression, which could include speech, but it can also include, just gesturing or standing around and protesting.
Or nothing at all.
That is a protected right. Now, this comes from ECHR. Now, whether you support ECHR or not, there are lots of rights within it. Some of them are absolute rights, meaning they can't be taken away. For example, the right to life, etc. Some of them are limited rights. So, for example, you've got the right to marry, but it is limited in law because you have to be a certain age. I have no idea
what he's talking about now.
Getting married. And some of them are what we call qualified rights, meaning you have this right, but it is qualified, meaning there's conditions attached and it depends on the situation. So, for example, you have the right to a private and family life and correspondence and so on. But that has certain limits to it. For example, if you're investigated for offenses and things like that, you have the freedom of expression under Article 10. But again, it is a qualified right, meaning you are free to express yourselves and hold certain views, etc., but you're limited in how you can manifest those views. So broadly, that is where...
So you're allowed to think something, you just can't actually verbalize it.
Right, comes from in the United Kingdom. And there's been a lot of cases talking about making posts that might offend or upset or annoy somebody, cause somebody needless anxiety, which is one thing we'll talk about in this video. Now, there have been many cases where people have been prosecuted and had those convictions quashed. So, for example, there was a really interesting case where a lady called Scotto took the CPS to the High Court by way of case stated, and her conviction was quashed. In short, that was in response to a series of exchanged tweets that she was then prosecuted for. You can look all of them up in the judgment that I'll show you here. But I will go through one bit of it, which is really important. So if I just go to the top, you can see the name of the case here. You can screenshot that and go and find it. But if I go back down to the bit that is really useful here, this is where this judgment references Section 127 of the Communications Act 2003, which is one of the offences of malicious communications or misuse, in this case, the improper use of public electronic communications. In this particular case, regarding subsection 2C, which was where a person is guilty of an offence if for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience, or needless anxiety, he persistently makes use of a public electronic communications network, which could include things like X or Twitter as it was then known.
You might think that, like, first of all, persistently means, repeatedly harassing, and perhaps this is like the British equivalent. But that guy was arrested for a Facebook post
or any other kind of social media network, any communications network. It could come into play here. However, without reading the entire judgment to you and cutting straight to the point, the judge said here, it is clear in my judgment that these provisions were not intended by Parliament to criminalise forms of expression, the content of which is no worse than annoying or inconvenient in nature, or such as to cause anxiety, for which there is no need. And goes on, first, the crime is only committed by conduct for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience, or anxiety. And I had the emphasis to highlight the contrast with Section 1 of malicious communications. Secondly, it can only be committed by the persistent use of public communications networks. So contrast this between...
So he's hitting on that. I said persistent sounds like more than one post. That sounds like you're basically harassing someone and following them around on Facebook and just trying to antagonize them. Which that doesn't sound at all really like what they're talking about here.
Persistently sending someone messages for the sole purpose of annoying them, as against, for example, having an extended conversation on X or any other social media platform that happens to annoy somebody. Now, if they happen to be annoyed or caused needless anxiety by that communication, that is in a roundabout way tough. Save unless you are directly inciting violence or anything like that. So as I mentioned in previous videos, if you are directly inciting others to go and attack somebody, that is obviously going to be wrong in law. Now, again, many people might think that you should have the right to say those things.
Now, the Brandenburg Standard we have here in America says that it's only incitement if there's capacity for this to be carried out in close time and proximity. Meaning, there's someone right there, and it's like, go get him. Then your words are incitement under Brandenburg, and your words themselves could be criminal. But if you're just issuing what the left loves to call hate speech, which is a made-up term and doesn't mean anything at all, nothing at all, there's no definition and doesn't mean anything, and it's a completely made-up term that should be thrown into the wheelie bin of history. Well, in that case, according to, even if you're engaging in what they would call hate speech here in America, as long as it's not incitement in close proximal time and location, it would not be a crime here in America.
But the law says otherwise. So again, don't shoot the messenger. The law says if you...
Now, when there's an exception to extradition for political crimes, is speech necessarily a political crime? Or if someone wants to be a jerk and go after you, like someone, let's say in our government, like a Kamala Harris type, said, yeah, let's go get those right-wingers who are posting out racist stuff here in America, so we're going to extradite you, and say it's not a political crime. It's It got nothing to do with politics. Got to do with, you didn't speak about political issues. You were talking about racism, which they'll say is not a political issue. Now, I would argue it is political, but you can make an argument that you can at least make an argument that it's not.
Make comments like that are directly inciting violence against a person, against a group, against a hotel, or whatever, then the law is going to intervene. And as it has done, and people have been, as in the posts that people have been sent to prison for, have been sent to prison for posting things that incite some kind of violence. In that one particular case was regarding that hotel. However, now we come to the freedom of speech as protected under US law, and as the hints have been by Sir Mark Rowley to extradite or hint at attempts to extradite Elon Musk for the use of free speech from where he is in the United States for issues cause to the United Kingdom. I've had Brian Rio, attorney at law of the US, send me quite extensive emails outlining his analysis. And I will put up on the screen here. He's from Rio Law in Ohio. And
from Speedwagon, Ohio.
The email is extensive. I've got his permission to share this analysis with you here, which I find fascinating as a English lawyer myself, to read the US attorney's perspective. And so I'll try to move this so that it's all on screen. And Brian says, by all means, you're certainly free to use my analysis, and please do mention my name. So I'm very grateful to him to be able to do this. The analysis first began in the first of these two emails from Brian, firstly outlining the case law in the area and covering the first case that I highlighted in my previous video, the Brandenburg and Ohio. Brian introduces himself, says, I'm an attorney in the United States, primarily focused on plaintiff civil litigation with extensive practice in defamation and related torts. As such, I've spent a significant amount of time researching and analyzing First Amendment speech cases. Brian says that I covered the Brandenburg and Ohio case, which allows outright advocacy of violence as long as it doesn't call for exhortation or imminent lawless action, which is what I outlined in my first video. So I'm pleased at least that I got that bit right. So this is a really fascinating insight with a crossover from English law to US law, and the potential interference by hinting that they will try to extradite Elon Musk to the UK. The long story short is not going to happen. But Brian says here, my basic summary and overview is that the British would, in the scenario that they would try to seek to extradite Elon Musk, would likely seek Mr. Musk's extradition, arguing that the speech was incitement to imminent lawless action. This is regarding the civil war being inevitable comment. But this would fail because the speech isn't inciting anything. It is only warning of the possibility of a civil war, not actually advocating for civil war. And it has no immediacy, and it isn't illegal under American law to call for, incite, or advocate a civil war or to foment war by propaganda. Thus, assuming Musk did everything the British would allege, he called for civil war and subordinate insurrection, which I don't believe he did, Brian says. It would not amount to law violation under American law. Failing to make a case that his words were incitement to imminent lawless action, the British government might argue that Musk's words constitute true threats, but there is no subject intent to intimidate or threaten or induce fear on the part of the recipients of his remarks, nor any clear identifiable individual who will be the target of the alleged threat. A comment by a world-renowned public figure on a matter of great international concern and a great concern to millions of Americans due to the close relationship between the UK and the USA is well within the core political speech. And the comment that a closely allied foreign nation is verging towards civil.
That's interesting in that he's more definitively calling it political speech. Like calling it as like a political crime. Okay, I can accept that.
war is clearly high-value core political speech in the discourse and exchange of ideas. It is unlikely that an American court would ever find Musk's comments were a true threat in any context. That would leave the British government rapidly running out of theories to advance, perhaps causing them to turn to fighting words, although current American jurisprudence is such that the remarks would have to be an unambiguous invitation to brawl. And Mr. Musk has certainly not done anything of the sort. Indeed, Mr. Musk calling out Mark Zuckerberg and arranging a sanctioned or supervised MMA cage fight would not be fighting words, even though it was clear invitation to fight. The context was to arrange a structured fight in a controlled setting under rules. Thus, even if somebody calls somebody out online, hey, do you want to fight?
See, this is an interesting question also. Meaning, like, now if you visit there, are you subject potentially to being arrested at that point? I don't know. We'll see if he gets to that.
That is likely not enough to sustain a conviction for breach of peace. The fighting words convictions typically require some sort of bar or pub or parking lot setting of, hey, do you want to go? Let's fight now. Let's fight right now. And we've all heard things like that. Movies or whatever. In a clearly illegal street setting. In the USA, it's generally acceptable to challenge people to fights as long as it's not an illegal, spontaneous public fight that breaches the public peace. And that would be the same here in England and Wales. If we were to arrange a fight between each other, that was under rules as this sets out, that would be perfectly fine. Brian goes on. There is no evidence Mr. Musk tried to challenge anybody to any sort of fighting in connection with the riots. The last avenue the British might pursue would be the teaching how speech restrictions, as seen in the Hitman.
Now, the way Black Belt Barrister is covering this, and that's, he's fixating exclusively on the words that Musk specifically used rather than the words that you might end up using tomorrow, right? So in other words, he's basically trying to analyze, all right, let's look at the things that Elon has said and try to break that down as far as, like, could he be subject to any law based on some sort of theory that he's breached American law and thereby now has subjected himself to UK, being punished in the UK because of its impact in the UK. So that America would agree to extradite him, saying, well, okay, that's a crime here in America too, so we'll pass him over to you. But let's not talk about things that Elon Musk has said. I'm really more curious about things that I might post tomorrow or you might post tomorrow and try to figure out, could that, in theory, wind up in any way? Is it even, is it likely to happen that any one of us would face prosecution before a UK tribunal for words we utter while here in America? Seems very unlikely. But the question is, is it legally feasible? Is really what I'm trying to address here. And based on how he's breaking this whole thing down, it seems very difficult, unless you literally do something that's breaking the law, that would be breaking the law here, that you're going to be extradited to England. That's what I'm taking from this so far. I don't really want to go all the way through this video because I want you all to check out the rest of this video and the fine work that Black Belt Barrister is presenting to you. So, but essentially, what he's breaking down is all the different bases as to whether or not Elon could be subject to UK law based on tweets he's sent out so far.
Paladin Press publishing case, but Mr. Musk did not provide any highly technical instruction in how to engage in illegal activity, let alone providing such content with the idea in mind that his readers would implement it. My First Amendment professor in law school was at one time the executive director at the ACLU in Cleveland, Ohio, and he was closely involved in a number of free speech cases and law development. I still have the outline he provided us on the first day of class, wherein the overview section provides as follows. Direct restrictions on expressive content, categorizing speech based on its value. A, when it comes to direct restrictions on expressive content, the Supreme Court developed a two-tiered analytical framework, striking down such restrictions as presumptively unconstitutional unless the regulated utterance falls into one of the designated categories of low-level speech, categories defined in advance of being unworthy of full First Amendment protection. B, these low-level categories of speech are denied full First Amendment protection because, in the words of Chaplinsky in New Hampshire, they are no essential part of any exposition of ideas and are of only slight social value as a step of truth. C, there are 8 basic categories of low-level speech. Some are utterly
All right. I don't want to get it. He's going a little bit deeper into the whole Elon thing. Anyway, so to answer your question, those of you who are asking yourselves that question, could I be subject to UK law based on, and again, I'm not giving you legal advice. This is not legal advice. This one deserves 3 knots. Okay? Those of you who love counting my knots, 3 knots. When it's not legal advice. Unless you're breaking the law here and it's manifesting in UK. Seems like it's unlikely, it's very, very unlikely you can face repercussion. I would never say impossible, because again, we're living in a dystopian world, and we are in a dystopian world. And who the hell wants to have to engage in, hiring legal counsel to protect yourself from this? And you almost certainly would have to if, in fact, Great Britain was serious about it. So, those of you who want to tell UK to go shove it, you'll probably get away with it. you probably get away with it. But you might end up in a legal fight. You might end up in a hell of a legal fight. So that's the answer I'm giving you. You probably get away with it. I can't promise you would. You're probably okay. But it really could be a legal fight. It could be a major pain in the ass. Sooner or later, a person with a U.S. passport traveling there will be held for actions while in the U.S. Oh, yeah, that I think will happen. That's a good call, Joe. The review into Operation Span and the investigation of a non-recent child sexploitation in Rochdale. To understand the anger, it's just one area. I don't know anything about that. Man got 6 months for Facebook pic of Asian-looking men and saying, coming to your neighborhood. Another guy got 18 months for yelling, who the F is Allah in the street if you don't hear from me again. All right. It's a crazy place. It's a crazy place. This is why you should be so thankful for your American privilege. You should be thanking God that you live in this country. Thanking God. And this is why we have to fight to maintain our freedoms of speech. This is why. Because otherwise you end up looking like this poor third world country people call the UK. In 2004 and 2013, UK police didn't investigate abuse cases. That's pathetic. All right. And some people might say this is what you get when you're allowing for like mass immigration and unchecked mass immigration. That's a lot of people would say. Other people would say, oh, you think you got such American privilege? Here, let's look at what's going on here in America as we transition into the next story here. This was a report that came out today.
Police officers arrived.
This is hundreds of people, including families, are currently being kicked out of their apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, after Venezuelan migrant gangs took over the building. Kamala Harris's open border is fully responsible for this. Some tenants have no idea where they're going to go, and some may end up homeless after the city vouchers end. So the city's giving them vouchers and said, oh, yeah, we don't know what to do about these gangs either. But here's some vouchers for you to like basically stay at a hotel while the place which you call home is being occupied by Venezuelan gangs who basically just migrated across the border. This is unbelievable. This is America coming to you. This is Kamala's America.
Arrived to the scene here at this apartment complex just before 7 a.m. carrying out evictions, and now dozens of tenants who used to live here are now looking for a place to stay. You can see just the red and
they used to live there. This used to be your home. Remember when this was your home? Yeah, it's not anymore. Unfortunately, Venezuelan gangs came in there, and we have no idea what to do about them. We have no idea. What should we do about them? What can we do? What can we do? What do you mean, what can you do? You go in there, arrest them, and throw them in jail. Why is this so hard? You arrest them and throw them in jail. If your local police force isn't strong enough to handle them, then you call in your state guard. What the hell's going on here? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So it's like, you know that the actual people who are supposed to be living there are not there, and you're just basically saying, oh well, we'll just give you somewhere new to live. Unbelievable.
Blue X that are on these apartment doors, and that's just a signal that this place has been that they have already carried out the evictions, that this place has been vacated.
So they're evicting these people from there? I don't understand. They're evicting the residents?
And now the cleanup begins here. Now, we watched as code enforcement and police officers went door to door to make sure that each of the apartment was cleared out. Piles of trash, they're being cleared out in the parking lot. We showed you that a little bit earlier, but the city of Aurora, they're all...
I don't even understand. When I saw this report, I'm so confused. Are they actually, they're evicting the people who live there to make room for Venezuelan migrants? For their migrant gangs who took it over? I'm so confused by this.
Also paying for this trash to be picked up.
So right now it's just kind of a waiting game for a lot of these tenants. They tell us they're not really sure what's going on, but...
Keep voting blue, Colorado. Keep voting blue. Keep voting blue while you walk around looking for a home.
They're upset at how the situation is being handled. You can see there's a lot of activity going on, a lot of children. Police are just here in the area. They just got here not that long ago, but it's unclear how they'll be moving people out, how they'll be taking them to the hotels. A lot of activity going on here right now.
I don't understand this story. I don't understand it. I need to understand. I think I need to understand this story more. There's something here is not adding up. Maybe I'll find a story which will break this down a little bit better. All right, let's break this story down a little bit more. Nearly 100 migrant families evicted from Aurora, Colorado slumlord apartments. Residents of the Fitzsimmons Place apartments, who are predominantly Venezuelan migrants, were told 6 days ago that they need to vacate their homes by 7 a.m. Tuesday morning or they face arrest. At 7 a.m., the building's utilities will be shut off, and according to the city's Deputy Director of Communications, Ron Luby, city contractors will subsequently begin boarding up the building and fencing off the entire property. Unicorn Roy covered a press conference last Wednesday at the apartment complex where residents and community organizers spoke about demands they have, including being able to stay in their homes for 2 more months to have adequate time to find new places to live. Some advocates say the fact that the majority of tenants are migrants from Venezuela is a key component contributing to the city's decision to evict them. 3 Aurora City Council members believe that migrant Venezuelans who live at the apartment complex are part of a huge gang problem and have called the population of migrant Venezuelans in Aurora violent, yet there's no concrete evidence to back up their beliefs. Whether Aurora's mayor, Mike Kaufman, agrees with them or not is unclear, but he does believe the owners of apartment buildings are slumlords, which he shared during an interview with 9 News. How long is this? It's 2 minutes.
On the morning of Wednesday, August 7th, on many of APS schools' children's first day of school, the city of Aurora sent 60 police officers to notify these families here that in 6 days, they would be made homeless.
This is a 99-unit apartment complex in Northwest Aurora, and we're here because community members and specifically, especially tenants, are here because they've been given 6 days. They've been given 6 days by the city of Aurora to vacate their units. The city of Aurora and the tenants agree that this building should be condemned. The conditions here are uninhabitable, There's rodent infestations. Tons of the appliances don't work. There's cockroach. There's everything. But the tenants don't want to live here either. And the city wants to condemn the building and only give the tenants 6 days to leave and find an alternate option. I don't know anyone who's ever found somewhere else to live in 6 days. So the tenants are simply demanding, one, that Jason Batchelor, the city manager of Aurora, give them 2 months to find an alternative housing option. And two, the tenants are demanding that the city of Aurora work with community organizations and local governments, municipalities, to connect them to resources, to help them move into other locations. A lot of them are families here. Yesterday was the first day of school for Aurora Public School students, and a lot of the kids here, in 6 days, they're going to be homeless. It's going to be a mass homelessness crisis, and the city can work with the tenants here to make sure that they get connected to resources. The city knew about the conditions of this building since March 8th, 2022, when they did a multifamily unit housing inspection that they do every 1 to 5 years. They inspected this building in 2022 and they saw the conditions of this building. And in those 2 years, they decided yesterday that they're going to give tenants 6 days to find somewhere else to live.
Okay, so it seems like the Venezuelan migrants who are the tenants themselves. That's what I'm getting so far. I'm not sure when he was saying this over here. They're confused. I'm not going to kid you. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this story. So I saw this and I was just like. So the point being, the point that George is making with this, and I do follow a lot of his posts here. The point that he's getting at is that presumably the migrants are moved into this complex and now they have nowhere to go because this complex is being condemned. That's what I'm getting from this. It's really not clear from what George posted here. I saw this and I was just like, I need to figure out what the hell's happening. What a mess. What a friggin' mess. This is going to start happening all over the country. We're going to see this all over the place. Remember, kids, you can't measure freedom in kilometers. Nice. I like it. Hashtag come take it. Pro tip, you better pack a lunch. Nice. Well said, Riley. All right. I'm just going to give you this. This has not happened yet, but in case you're wondering, remember that raid of Mar-a-Lago? I'm going to start covering just a few different news stories that I want to call to your attention. Remember that raid of Mar-a-Lago? Well, apparently
Mar-a-Lago raid from
apparently we're about to see some repercussions, hopefully, some repercussions, which I cannot, I'll tell you right now, he should have filed this ages ago. I think he was waiting to see the case dismissed. Because as you may recall, the raid of Mar-a-Lago that happened in 2022 led to the Florida indictment, right? So they raided Trump's home in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, and they said, we believe you're holding documents that you're not allowed to be holding. So they basically got their search warrant and went in there. All this was overseen by Jack Smith. Judge Cannon recently said Jack Smith didn't have authority. Now, at the time that the raid was being done, I think that was technically under Merrick Garland's purview, not Jack Smith. Merrick Garland would have authority. But recently, the Florida case has been dismissed on the basis that Jack Smith had no standing to actually bring this case. Proper decision from Judge Cannon, in my personal opinion. And now President Trump is talking about suing the DOJ for the wrongful raid of Mar-a-Lago, which I say, do it, do it, do it.
Exclusive. President Trump set to sue the government over the 2022 Mar-a-Lago raid, which resulted in the federal case involving his classified documents. Fox Business's Lydia Hu is here with more. Lydia.
Good morning there, Cheryl. Former President Donald Trump is putting the government on notice. He plans to sue them for $100 million over the Mar-a-Lago raid from 2 years ago and the prosecution of the documents case that followed. Now, in this notice that he filed with the government just last week, Trump accuses the Department of Justice and the FBI of invasion of privacy, malicious prosecution, and abuse of process. Trump's lawyers talked to Fox Business exclusively, saying the government's goal was to keep Trump from running for office again.
We have a word for that gets thrown around a lot, but in this case is very accurate and precise: election interference. And that's what President Trump believes the entire special counsel investigation was about.
Yep.
Interfering with his ability to get elected.
Oh, hell to the yeah.
Now, Trump's lawyer raises a number of issues in this notice. One is the way in which the search warrant was executed, and a total surprise, which they say violated established protocol. The lawyer points to testimony from a former FBI assistant director who said agents should have first sought Trump's consent, offered notice to Trump's lawyers, and invited cooperation. They also cite internal FBI emails to show agents questioned whether there was the required probable cause to support the search. And Trump's lawyers argue that Attorney General Merrick Garland should have known that Trump would have immunity and that Jack Smith cannot be appointed special counsel, which we now know is the very reason why Judge Cannon dismissed the documents case.
Yes.
The Department of Justice declined to comment, but now the government has 6 months to decide whether to settle Trump's claim for that $100 million.
Nice.
And if they don't, Trump could sue the government and seek that money.
President Trump suing the United States of America. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, yes. So from what I recall, if you're wondering why is there a wait? What's the 6 months? My recollection, and again, I'm thinking back like 2 decades now. I didn't check it up tonight. My recollection is that you need to give 6 month notice. Like in order to sue the United States of America, you need to give them 6 month notice and file your notice of a claim. And it gives them an opportunity to try and resolve their differences with you. So they're definitely not going to be resolving their differences. That's definitely not going to be happening. Unless, I guess, technically 6 months from now, it could be after he's sworn in. Maybe they will actually settle the differences in February of 2025. I don't know. That could happen. But imagine the left losing their minds if the United States of America in February 1, 2025, United States of America settles with Trump for $50 million and says, here's $50 million. They will go bonkers. So the President of the United States just basically used the Mar-a-Lago case to squeeze $50 million taxpayer dollars out of the government. Oh my God. I really hope he does it. I really hope he does. Oh, that'd be amazing. So amazing. That'd be great. That'd be great. Oh my God. Jack is not a real boy. He's hoping to become a real boy. Oh my God. They will so lose it. They will lose it. Anyways, I want to keep you apprised of that I plan on keeping abreast of that. I also want to give you some inspiration that the world is starting to actually wake up. Even in crazy California. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to just freeze frame on this person here. Okay? I'm going to freeze frame on this woman right here. Okay? Look at this woman. Look at this woman. You tell me. I mean, I wish they didn't have the headline there. You look at that woman and you just say to yourself, all right, that's a Biden voter right there. That's a Biden voter. She got the pantsuit and everything. She got the pantsuit. She got, the short haircut, the big angry glasses, the snarl on her face, the fashion, the fashion sense of a blind Polish woman, and who matches by material rather than by color. and you say to yourself, okay, that's a Biden voter. That's a Biden voter, right? I mean, this is a Kamala. This is a future Kamala voter right there. You look at that, it's like there's no two ways about it, right? She is furious with the Democrats. She's a Democrat. She's a Democrat leader herself, and I mean, surprise on that. But she is furious with the Democrats. Like she's reached her boiling point. And I'll tell you right now, they love talking about how like the numbers are shifting. The numbers are shifting. I think numbers ain't going anywhere. Numbers ain't going anywhere here. Listen to her rail against the Democratic Party. She's in California. Just remember this: the Democratic Party from the state of California, senator from California, Susan
done with
Eggman.
us protecting. I'm done. I'm done with us protecting people who would buy and abuse our children. I'm done. I don't want to send more black and brown men to prison. I don't want more people in prison, but I don't want people buying girls. I don't want people buying little girls anymore. And I'm tired of saying it's okay and that we have to protect the men who do it. As a mental health professional and as a social worker, I can tell you I've spent my entire career working with people who have been wounded. I'm not going to say beyond repair, but they have been wounded to their core by the abuse that's been heaped on them, oftentimes by those that they love and look to protect them. And if their parents won't do it, then by God, we should. Again, I am not arguing that we open the gates to flood our prisons with people, but I am arguing that we have a moral responsibility to say enough. Enough. We have given away enough on this area, and we've got to move back into the center, or we all look like fools and laughing stocks. And what do we stand for? I ask all of you to watch the documentary that Senator Grove was in, Senator from Kern County was just in, that talked about this very place in Sacramento where girls are being bought and sold. Men are being given a slap in the hand or a couple days, and then they're back out again, and they do the same thing. They get caught over and over and over again, and somehow that's okay. It's not okay. It is not okay anymore, and no more am I watching. Like I said, I'm leaving, but the rest of you who are going to be here for a while, let's get our stuff together and really start focusing on some of the important things. We talk about learning, and we talk about being safe. This is like at the core of it, and a lot of these kids can be throwaway kids. They're poor kids. They're kids of color. But they shouldn't have to live a life determined by what happens to them by others at a very young age, and by have the Democratic Party of California say it's okay. It's not okay. And I'm not doing it anymore, and I hope none of you do too. We have to be able to draw a line, and for me, I'm drawing a line. I urge your I vote.
Dang. So you think that they're completely deaf to like the lunacy that they're unleashing on America? You think they're completely deaf to it? They're deaf to a lot. And clearly she was deaf to it for a while before she's like, what the hell are we doing here? America's starting to wake up. They're starting to wake up and realize this is insanity. This is just insanity what's happening here. Utter insanity. And while we're covering things that are kind of insane, I think it's insane that so many people keep getting confused about this individual's identity. I don't understand how this is insane to me.
It looks like he's having a nice feast.
She her.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all good.
But it was not all good.
Hi. Are you?
I love that, but it was not. But it was not all good.
Her pronouns? I'm not sure. Yeah, like it's like a knife in the heart. I did specifically ask ahead of time not to be called sir. Yeah, I'm just gonna go. Okay. The Sweetwater starts at okay.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's just always like a knife It always hurts every single time. I was wondering if there's a manager I could talk to about something that happened. Yeah, I was called sir. Oh, okay. It just really sucks every time it happens. I don't need to be called ma'am. I just need to not be called sir, you know? Thank you. Did you call me sir? Hey, I just want to tell you that the person who gave me this called me sir. What? Called me sir. Oh. It's just like, it kind of just hurts a lot to get.
It's kind of insane how everyone just keeps calling this individual sir.
Called sir. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Very good. Thank you so much. No, yeah. Thank you. I'm not a sir. Nothing like a good misgendering. It is a knife in the gut when I get called sir. I feel like
I'm a little confused, frankly, whether it's a knife in the chest or a knife in the gut. Like, which one is? It's got to be one or the other. It can't be like, it's not two knives, right? It's a knife in the gut or it's a knife in the. It can't be both. I'm pretty sure we said knife in the chest before. Now it's a knife in the gut.
I need to tell him. I need to tell him that hurt. It hurts more when it's not intentional because it means like this is sir to him. I know you didn't mean it, but I'm not a sir. I'm so sorry. It's okay. I know you didn't mean it. It's just, it hurts. I know when people clock me, it's fine, but like it does kind of hurt. Thank you. I'm not sir.
This is French Beret Day for the dog and
not sir.
And for
not sir. But the guy who dropped the food off, he called me sir twice in a row.
Twice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Unbelievable. We live in a crazy world where people keep calling that individual sir. I don't understand what's happening there. This is just like the picture of femininity, right? That's happening right there. The picture of femininity. Covered that.
It is indeed.
Don't want to cover this one? No. I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to skip that one. Where we at here? All right. I did want to cover... Should I cover Kennedy? This is very long. We're not going to cover the entire thing. This is very long. All right. While we're talking about insane people, let's talk about Alejandro Mayorkas, who faced off against Senator Kennedy in a battle of the ages between the intentionally stupid and the utterly brilliant. This is the battle between the utterly brilliant and the intentionally stupid.
Did you just parachute in from another planet, Mr. Secretary? Because you're the only person in the Milky Way who believes that we're not having massive illegal immigration into America.
Senator, you're putting words into my mouth.
No, sir. Certainly describing the situation because you think our borders ought to be open. And it would be more intellectually honest if you just say that.
That is false.
I don't agree with you. You have to watch up here what people do, not what they say, and everything else is just cottage cheese. Mr. Secretary, do you agree with the president that we should ban the private ownership of assault weapons in America?
Senator, I do.
What is an assault weapon?
It is, for example, an AK-47.
Can you give me a definition other than just pointing to a specific weapon? Would there be other weapons besides an AK-47 you would ban?
That's a good question.
There very well are. And I remember when I was...
It's always the AR-15 and the AK-47.
...a federal prosecutor in the Central District of California from September 25th, 1989 to, I believe it was April 2001.
Listen to his answer. What's the question? What is it besides an AK? Give me a definition.
There very well are. And I remember when I was a federal prosecutor in the Central District of California.
Not relevant to the question.
From September 25th, 1989 to,
not
I
relevant.
believe it was April 2001.
And I thank you for your service. But if you could answer my question.
the vast majority of law enforcement officers, leaders with whom I worked were greatly in support of the assault weapons
Mr.
ban.
Chairman,
What the hell is an assault weapon?
you know why we get so frustrated with you? Because you won't give straight answers.
I think I just did.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Do you have a definition of an assault weapon?
I am confident there is a technical definition of what is an assault weapon, and it was assuredly used in the context of the statute that previously existed banning assault weapons.
Mr. Secretary, our southern border is not secure, is it?
Senator, I have spoken about this. I believe I've addressed this earlier in the hearing.
Why don't you address it again?
Of course. Let me share with you a few things. Number one, when I speak of the security of the border, I am speaking of maximizing the resources we have to deliver the most effective results.
So
let me assure you that we are
it's
doing
secure
so.
because we're trying to secure it. Are we succeeding?
Senator, we are so focused on the security of our southern border. We are doing so much with
But you're
respect
not
to
succeeding.
the surge of personnel.
How you're not succeeding?
Oh, Senator, let me share with you that the challenge of migration that we are experiencing at our southern border is not exclusive to the United States. It is something that is gripping the entire
But
hemisphere.
my job is to worry about the United States.
As
Mr.
is mine.
Chairman.
As is mine.
That's good you know that.
Here's my question. Let me try to rephrase it. And I really do wish, I understand the position you're in, but you really should try to do a better job of answering the questions. Under the Biden administration, we have the most encounters. We have had the most encounters with people attempting to come into our country illegally in the history of ever. Under the Biden administration, we have had the most people entering our country illegally in the history of ever. Under the Biden administration, we have had the most gotaways at our southern border in the history of ever. Under the Biden administration, we have had the most number of people entering our country under a claim of asylum, having that claim turned down and still not being deported in the history of ever. And under the Biden administration, we've had the most fentanyl coming into our country in the history of ever. How can you possibly say the southern border is secure?
Do you know
I
that-
understand your answer that you're trying, but I'm not asking about your efforts. I'm asking about the results.
Well, let's talk about the results then, Senator. Do you know that last year we expelled and removed approximately 1.4 million people from the southern border? I believe that's the most ever. Do you realize that we are focused on enforcing our laws to achieve the security of the southern border?
I know you're focused, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Secretary, but you're not succeeding.
Senator,
And when you come testify to us, you talk about how you're trying really hard. And I don't have any way to disprove that. I accept that statement in good faith. But the numbers belie that.
If I can, Senator, let me give you an example of a solution that we have delivered that for some reason is being contested. Because it's
Mr.
caused a
Secretary,
95.
I gave you 30 seconds, okay?
It's caused a 95.
Don't filibuster me.
It's
You've
caused.
been doing that all day. I'm just trying to ask
I'm just
you
trying to
questions.
communicate. It has led to a approximately 95% drop in the number of encounters in between the ports of entry at our southern border of Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans
Mr. Secretary,
on January 5th. And
Mr.
why would that
Secretary.
be opposed when it is delivering precisely the result that you seek?
Did you just parachute in from another planet, Mr. Secretary? Because you're the only person in the Milky Way who believes that we're not having massive illegal immigration into America.
Senator, you're putting words into my mouth.
No, sir,
There is-
I'm
there is-
accurately describing the
There is
situation.
no question. There is no question that we have a very serious challenge at our southern border.
Okay.
It is a challenge. that is
We can agree on that. Let me ask you another question.
Now I'm going to come to you. I'm going to stop this shortly. I'm just really enjoying Kennedy, just skewering him. But I want to talk to you about the newest talking point from the left and how it must be refuted. I'm going to come to that very soon.
Why don't you just declare a new policy that other than children, if you present at the southern border, you claim refugee status, you claim political asylum, and you haven't claimed refugee status and political asylum at the first safe country, then you can't come in.
Which is what the law.
What we have done.
Just adopt a new policy that if you didn't seek asylum in the first safe third country, you can't come in, period.
Senator, are you aware of the notice of proposed rulemaking that we issued, the comment period of which closed yesterday?
You've had 2 years to adopt a policy like I just described. Why haven't you done it?
So, Senator, what we have done is
why did you not do this?
Haven't you done that?
We have surged enforcement resources. We have
Why haven't
developed.
you just adopted? Please, if you would, Mr. Secretary, answer my question.
It is my.
Because that's the law. Whenever you're seeking asylum as a refugee, you have to stop at the first safe country. And you can't just go hopping across the globe until you land on our southern border. That's just the way it works.
Why haven't you adopted unilaterally a safe third country policy? That would stop, except for children, all the folks from the Northern Triangle countries, all the folks from Venezuela, all the folks from Cuba, all the folks from the Middle East from coming into our country. Why haven't you done that?
Senator, it's my understanding that those are two things. It is my understanding that those agreements do require.
You don't have to have an agreement with anybody. It can be a policy established by the Department of Homeland Security.
Senator, I'd have to review the.
You haven't reviewed that? You haven't considered that possibility?
It's the law.
Let me finish, if I may.
Sure.
I would have to review the legal underpinnings of your
assertion.
Well,
you better get reviewing.
And I also
you ought to get reviewing. This is the first time that's occurred to you.
I also do not think that that is sound policy.
You don't think this is the first time that's occurred to you?
I also do not think that that is sound policy, that we should shut down our entire asylum system.
I didn't say shut down the.
Nobody said that. They said just use the asylum system as it was drafted, not change it and ignore it.
Our asylum system. I said safe third country. All you have to do, Mr. Secretary, if you're really serious, and it's beginning, frankly, to appear that you're not, is adopt a policy that says we're not seeking anyone's agreement. We don't have to. If you're coming from another country and you come through, let's say Mexico, and you say you're seeking asylum, you have to seek it in Mexico or the other first safe third country, or you can't come in. Period. Done. End of story. Why don't you do that?
Senator, I don't think that we have the unilateral authority.
Sure you do. Other countries
number one
do
and
it.
Number two, as
if
I've
you
mentioned,
try sneaking into China.
As I've mentioned, I do not think that is sound policy.
Why?
Because you are basically shutting down our asylum system.
No, you're not. You're saying we honor your right to seek political asylum, but you're cherry picking. Do it in Mexico first. Why haven't you done that?
I think I've addressed that issue, Senator.
You don't want to do it, Mr. Secretary. That's what it's beginning to look like. Because you think our borders ought to be open. And it would be more intellectually honest if you just say that.
That is
nice.
false.
I don't agree with you. You have to watch up here what people do, not what they say. And everything else is just cottage cheese.
Beautiful.
Senator,
beautiful.
I don't think
Thank you,
I don't
Mr.
think
Chairman.
the 1.4 million people who were expelled or
Oh, shut up, you jackass. 1.4. We're letting in 3 million, and we're letting in. We expelled 1.4. Yay! Let's do the senator. Let's do the Governor Walz clap. Yay! Let me see him do his clap. It's like a retarded seal. I don't mean the marine seal. I don't mean that. I mean a literal seal. This is exactly what the Biden administration want to do with disinformation, hate speech board. France is doing the same. Yep. Takes 90 days for public comment under APA, not 2 years. All right. Breck Nichols says, Joe, 50 years ago, I read 1984 and Brave New World, and I thought, it can't happen here. Well, damn. I'm going to give you the little horn. So, well, damn to you, brother. Okay, so there we go. I wanted to get that little border coverage in there because you need to be aware as to where the left is going to try arguing next. And that's right here. This is a post from Brian Krasenstein, who I've had here on my channel. I've had him here. I've argued with him. Now it's election season, so he's going full libtard on us. So he played this clip here, and I'll share with you what he wrote about this. This is the clip he played from last night's conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
The whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyways. He wouldn't have even known what happened. You could shut the border down. He wouldn't even know the difference. But the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her that. The fact is you could just call her. She was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's horrible. The whole thing is horrible.
All right, so that's the clip he played. And then he said, important fact check. Oh, here it comes to the fact check. Harris is totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. Fact. Vice President Harris had no unilateral authority to shut the border down in any capacity. Well, she was assigned to be in charge of the border, so you would think she at least would have made some suggestions, at the very least. What suggestions did she make, Brian? What suggestions? Fact. Neither White House President Biden nor Vice President Harris ever designated her as the border czar. Crap, lies. You're gaslighting now. We all remember it. This thing was coined by most Republicans and amplified by the media. Yeah, the media. That they made that up. She's the one who was put in charge of the border. So you don't want to call her border czar. Who the hell cares? That's not like a fact check. That's not a fact check. Ridiculous. Fact. Harris' actual role mainly centered around diplomatic efforts with Northern Triangle countries and Mexico to address the root causes of migration, such as economic instability, violence, and crime, aiming to reduce the flow of immigrants at the source. How'd that work for her? How'd that work? She also worked with corporations to invest in this nation in an effort to turn around those countries. How'd that work? How did that work? Oh. Facts from the June report by DHS, and this is the key one that they're going to throw at us. This is what they're going to throw at us. The number of encounters at our southwest border have decreased by more than 50% in the past 6 weeks. Oh, look at that. They've gone down in the past 6 weeks. Interesting. That's what DHS is telling us. Oh, you see, now they're trying to see, look what a success she is. Look what an amazing, remarkable success she is. In the last 6 weeks, border encounters have decreased by 50%. The Border Patrol's 7-day average has decreased to below 1,900 encounters per day. Since the presidential proclamation interim final rule went into effect on June 5th, DHS removed and returned more than 70,000 individuals to more than 170 countries, including by operating more than 150 international repatriation flights. Total removals and returns over the past year exceed removals and returns in any fiscal year since 2010, and a majority of all Southwest border encounters during the past 3 fiscal years resulted in removal, return, or expulsion. Yeah, you know what you're ignoring here? What you're ignoring is, why is this only the last 6 weeks? Why? Why is it only the last 6 weeks? If you could do it the last 6 weeks, what were you doing for the first 3.5 years? What you're proving is exactly what I wrote over here in response to Brian Krasenstein, which is the fact that it went down by 50% over the past 6 weeks proves that it was willfully neglected for the last 3.5 years. And the only reason that you're shutting this thing down now is because you see there's an election coming, and then America says, you suck. You're terrible. You're lousy. And that's why you played yourself. You freaking played yourself. The fact that it's so much better the last 6 weeks makes you ask why the hell it wasn't like this for the last 3.5 years. And the answer is fairly obvious to anyone who is being intellectually honest, which is that they intentionally left our borders open. And they didn't care about the fentanyl that was coming in here, killing countless thousands of Americans. They didn't care about the danger to Americans as far as the safety threat. They didn't care about the fact that we had a freaking foreign invasion of millions of people crossing the border when they could have had it at the very least, half of what it was. Half. And when they sit here and they say, oh, you know why we couldn't afford it? Mayorkas gets up there and says, well, we don't have enough resources. Lie. Because there was no increase in resources over the last 6 weeks. It's not an increase in resources. So they're going to sit here saying, oh, you know why the border wasn't able to be controlled? Because Trump told the Republicans not to sign that stupid bill that was a bipartisan bill that people wanted to sign to control the border that would have sent billions of dollars down there to help protect the border. That is a lie, because while it was bipartisan, it was basically a let's send money to Ukraine and force whoever the next president is to keep our borders open forever and make it a crime for him to actually shut the border. That's what that thing said. It was not a close the border. It was, we are going to send money down to the border and require that every president henceforward until this bill is overturned must leave the border open to a certain number of thousands of people per day who must be allowed to enter into the country even during times of crisis. So that's what that stupid, ridiculous, self-immolating, self-destructive bill was all about. It was about hamstringing President Trump if he, their expectation of, oh my God, if he wins, how are we going to keep our border open? Oh, we'll pass this bill, which we'll call closing the border, which was actually requiring a president to leave the border open to a minimum of 40,000 plus illegal entries every month. Every friggin' month. That's what that bill said. 40,000 people every month minimum. Minimum. During crisis times, you still have to allow in 40,000 a month. That's what that stupid freaking bill said. But they said, oh, we didn't have enough money because Trump told them not to sign that bill, and because he wanted to be able to stop the problem himself, because he was all about his own personal power. It was all about him protecting himself so that the border could look bad. And that's why they didn't have enough money to shut it down. Really? Well, if they didn't have enough money to shut it down, why is it half as bad now as it was 7 weeks ago? And the answer is simple, because they never wanted to close it down. They never tried closing it down. And now when they see that it's a massive problem for them come November, they're like, oh my God, let's show the massive improvement that we can have here. Well, you should have had this improvement 3.5 years ago. You let that border stay open forever. You let millions of undocumented people come in there. And also we have crises in Colorado, Colorado, where we've got entire complexes that are filled with Venezuelans in some Midwestern city that they're just transplanted over to, taking over buildings that are being run by slumlords that are not really fit for human habitations. Now we got to spend hotel money to put them up there. We've got New York City, where you can't even book a hotel room anymore because half the hotels are being filled by that sanctuary city's wonderful policies. So let's come in here. Oh yeah, come on in here. It's almost like, Ryan Long has a great bit that I never played here because it's a family show. But he's basically like, you know what New York is like with respect to illegal aliens? His bit basically goes something like this. It's basically like someone who's basically says, oh, you know what, man? You give me those 10 chicks, I could take all of them out, man, in 1 hour. I go after all. I get every one of them in 1 hour. Then all of a sudden 10 chicks show up and you're like, wait, whoa, 1 hour, 10? Wait, now there's 12? Wait, there's 20 of them now? Wait. I mean, that's a bit much. I mean, I don't know if so like now, like right now, I got it now. I got to do that now. That's what New York was like. Oh yeah, come on in here. Oh yeah, just come on in here. Oh, we want all of them. Just bring them on. Oh wait. Okay, hold on a second. Wait, we didn't mean all of Central America should should move to Manhattan. We didn't not everyone. We didn't. Oh, this crisis brought to you by border czar Kamala Harris, and yes, I will call her border czar because she never disputed the moniker until she was such an utter failure at it. Was she officially labeled that? No. Did she ever say once, "I'm not the border czar"? In 2022? Did she say that once in 2023? No. Only now that it's being thrown at her feet that you basked in the label border czar for the last 2.5 years while you basically left our freaking border wide open. And the big accomplishment you had is that you went down to Guatemala or some other third world country and you basically said, don't come, don't come, don't. And that was her big stop at the point. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess, she said don't come. Maybe we'll stop coming now. Like, what the hell is, what is that? What is that? She's an ineffective, useless, the opposite of a leader. Every time you put her in a position of power, a position of authority, a position where she has to get something accomplished, she displays her utter incompetence and her inability to effectuate anything remotely useful towards her actual objectives. That is what Kamala Harris has shown us. And you want to sit here with your stupid little fact check saying, oh, she's not the borders. Well, you know what? She never once refuted the title. And you want to sit here telling me how wonderful everything's been for the last 6 weeks? I'm going to tell you this. It should have been like that for the last 3.5 years. The fact that it wasn't the biggest self-own imaginable. That's why you're losing in November. That's why you suck. That's why you've been bringing America down the toilet. And the fact that you're trying to whitewash this, Brian, with your whole little, well, look, everything's getting better now. And that stupid, ridiculous, God knows how much money they're paying you to throw out such utter nonsense. But you're not that stupid. You're not that stupid, Brian. And all you're doing is you're selling your soul. I hope the shekel they're giving you to try and cover up for utter failings as a leader, as a politician, as a human being is worth it for you at the end of the day. Because frankly, I don't think it's going to pay off for Kamala at all when it comes November. Well, that's my thoughts that I want to share with you about that. I promise you all a meme, a really funny meme, and it's a killer meme. It's a really good meme. Fan says, YouTube super chat is oppressing me tonight. Cannot post. No need to deal with crime. Just kick everyone out. That's weird. I don't even know why that's... Not sure why are they oppressing you. I'm sorry, fans. Biden made a deal with Mexico for them to block the migrants in Mexico. Oh, you said this first. Administrative Procedure Act to change the rules. Oh, this is what you were talking about, the conversation between Kennedy and Mayorkas. I didn't hear him say the 2 years to change the APA. Biden made a deal with Mexico for them to block the migrants in Mexico's southern border. At the same time, he created an app, CBP, wanted the migrants to apply for direct flights. Such utterly useless. They're useless. Utterly useless. Utterly useless. You want to see my meme? I thought this was hilarious. Let's close out with our meme. Close out with the meme, Joe. I promised the meme. This is going to make you laugh. Even if you've seen it before, you'll probably laugh. That's how good it is. That's how good this is.
Now, we'll miss.
I have no idea if YouTube is going to be okay with this. They may turn this down because of the content. They may turn this down because of copyright infringement issues. I have no idea where they're going to go with this, but I am fairly certain YouTube is not going to like it. Fairly certain. My God, this is just, even the way they did the lip syncing on this is just amazing. Just amazing. I wonder what movie it's from.
My king and queen, I was just entertaining this lady.
Oh my God. This is this is so good. It's 2.5 minutes. This is so good. Oh my gosh. This is so good. This is so good. It's like if it ended there, I'd be like, that was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. There's so much more. Oh, I wish there was like a whole movie like this. Oh my God. I wish there was. This is so good. You're going to be waking up your family with your.
Looks like it's you who's in need of a gender education.
We must try not to get cancelled.
Prepare to be cancelled.
I'm preparing to be canceled. I'm totally going to cancel for airing this clip. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm totally going to be canceled. I think it's worth it. It's probably worth it. Oh, God, I'm going to be canceled for this.
Using heads up.
I don't know who made this. Oh my God. No man thrives a transgender. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is so good.
You want my corporate? You assume me again. This is madness.
Oh my God. Oh my God, it's so good. Ah. This is so good. Oh wow. That was so good. I told you. It was worth the wait. I thought he was going to I actually thought he was going to say this is MAGA. I thought that's what he was going to say. But I might even go to this way. This is biology. Oh my God. That was so good. You're welcome. Whew. So good. I told you, it's meme season. It's meme season. Some just awesome memes. Please, if you come across something that you think is going to make me laugh, even if it's not going to make me laugh that hard, because that was a very high bar to match. That was a very high bar to match. I mean, some things I've seen, like, it's good. I don't know if I'm going to play that one. It's like, it feels too forced. So, with that was just exceptional. Whew. But please, feel free to share with me either on Locals. You can share it with me, and that's at goodlogic.locals.com. You can share it with me over there. You can share with me in a comment down below if you're watching it. Please tell me if you found a better meme. If you're watching after the show, tell me you found a better meme than that one. I'll be very impressed. You link me to a better meme if you found a better one, because that was just amazing. That was really amazing. So while you're here, if you can please like and subscribe. I've lost like 400 subscribers since I crossed over into 100,000. Over the last month, I've lost 400 subscribers just because they just keep getting thrown away from me. It's part of the nature of the beast. I understand. If the tithing happens. The tithing happens after I get a surge. But if you can please make sure you like and subscribe, share, and come on over to Locals, goodlogic.locals.com. Let me just wrap up over here. Bring forth the Unix. I got a black square in my bio. Of course you're okay. Of course you're okay. I might end up having to cut that out of the... if you're watching now and you don't know why I'm laughing so hard, I'm sorry, but YouTube made me cut it out, which is a very good possibility that they will. Really good possibility. That's the only reason to come on over to Locals, which is goodlogic.locals.com. All right. If you want to tweet at me on Twitter or X, I'm at TheFollowingPro. You can also email me at goodlogic@gmail.com. That's my show. I'm sticking to it. I'm Joe Neerman, and you're not. So, as they say in the civilized world, or in a world where people haven't yet lost their heads, stay away from friggin' lab meat. Do not, don't eat the bugs. Have a good night, you all, and as always, Godspeed.